Do you want to do the music? This has never happened before, of course. All right, we're not live. We were making fun of you the last time, though. That was pretty funny.
So do you want to carry on?
Yeah, carry on.
You're going to delete all this?
No, we're going to put it all on there.
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. Go.
Okay.
Come on, lead us through it, man.
Okay, welcome back to the Impact Show. All this technical difficulty. Last week, Maddie, by the way, this is episode number 47,
Yes.
correct?
I can't believe it.
So last week, by the way, 47 is my favorite president ever, but 45 and 47, by the
Nice.
way. But anyway, we're not going political. So last week, we had the sheriff, Morgan County Sheriff.
Mm-hmm. What was your takeaway on that, Jeremy?
I was about to ask you your takeaway. What was your takeaway, Maddie?
My takeaway was that Morgan County didn't have any canines until he became...
That's all you thought about was the dogs?
Yeah.
Jeez. Look, Sheriff Hooks came in to a county, to a whole new tribe, and my takeaway was he is a great dude. He came into a town, not new to him, but he wasn't ever born here. He came into town. He won. He had a heck of a campaign. He won the political race, and he has done a really nice job with our county. He's a really strong leader. That was my takeaway. And some of the things that he told us during that meeting was revolutionary to some, and some may say, well, that's just leadership. And so I thought it was great the way that he spoke about his people. Anyway.
I thought it was cool. He did his research on the team before he got elected. So he already knew what the problems were prior to going in.
Yeah, during his campaign, he was very smart.
Diligent. Yeah.
Yeah, he was real smart about it. And kudos to him, man. And he's doing a great job. He really is. I feel good because he's our sheriff. Yep. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I feel safe to be here. I'm glad to be here because he's our sheriff.
For sure.
So that means a lot. But anyway, all right, so we'll move on. Today, we're approaching the middle of January. Just so everybody knows, we're always a few weeks behind on our drops. But we have a guest with us today. And in fact, Maddie, I'm going to let you introduce our guest.
That's not fair.
Why?
Well, I already know about him because I got to learn all about him before.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, you and his guy talked last week. All I know is he's the president of Luther Rice. That's all I know.
That's good. That's a great introduction.
It's wonderful.
It's good enough, ain't it?
We call him Doc.
Call him Doc. Okay, so, but basically, through a friend, Joshua, y'all, for all of our listeners, you know Joshua because he's been on the show 2 times. But I think he talked to his friend and somebody talked to somebody, and then it was like, yeah, come on. So we actually called Joshua, come back too.
Let's go.
So we got Joshua and Doc. I believe it's Stephen.
Yeah, we can go with Steve. How about that?
Steve. Okay.
Yeah.
Steinhilber.
You got it.
Yes.
How do you say it?
Steinhilber.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. All right, so Steve Steinhilber, the president of Luther Rice University, is here with us today. So thank you for coming out.
Yeah.
And so what we'll do is we'll just jump right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, where you're from, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. As we talked earlier, I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio. I was born and raised there. I'm a little over 50 years old now. I'll be 51 in February. I have a wife, and my daughter just turned 30, and 2 grandkids. Got a 3-year-old granddaughter and 11-and-a-half-month-old grandson. So when I moved from Ohio to Atlanta, I was 23 years old, and I was not a Christian. And I had met my wife, who's my wife now. I'd met her on a visit when I came to Georgia and packed up my stuff, and I moved and just trusted. At the time, I didn't know the Lord, but I was seeking Him. I was kind of seeking Him. And I'd grown up in the church, wasn't a Christian, but my parents did a nice job of instilling morals in me and good things. And I was a good kid, but I was very performance-driven, and I still am. It's still part of who I am. And have a hard time shaking that sometimes, but it is what it is. But I just always thought that would earn me a right standing with the Lord as well. And then it took me to get to Georgia, get in a Bible-believing, preaching church where a pastor preached the gospel clearly. and I heard it and convicted me, and I gave my life to Christ at 23 years old. From there, I went on to use my accounting degree. I've got a Bachelor of Arts in Accounting degree, and I worked for multiple companies, and then I settled at C.R. Bard, which is now Becton Dickinson. Worked there for 10 years, and I worked my way up to be division controller. So I was the top finance guy at the division, and my next stop would have been to go to Murray Hill, New Jersey, and be a VP up there and have the corner office and live the dream with the money and, all that. And I've been doing a lot of short-term mission trips at the time. We've been going down to Haiti, and it was after my 5th mission trip I came back, and I was just miserable. I was literally in tears one day. I was mowing my grass, and my wife's like, "What is wrong with you?" She's like, "You are miserable." I said, "I don't think this is what the Lord's got called for me for the rest of my life, to be at Bard. I think there's something more." And she's like, "Well, what does that mean?" I said, "I don't know." And we talked about it a lot. And at one point, it was in 2011, I went to my president at Bard at the time, and I said, "Listen, I'm going to be quitting. And I'm going to be going enrolling at Luther Rice College and Seminary." Didn't know at the time that that's where I'd be working, but it was a local college and seminary where you can get trained for ministry, and I called to ministry. And so I enrolled full-time, quit my job in 2012, January 2012, went over there, went into the classroom, and I just started learning. And about 6 months in, my wife, she's like, "You got to go get a job." She said, "You're annoying me at the house." She's a nurse, so she got off around 2:30. So she always was accustomed to having like a half pot of coffee and just silence when she came home. And I had drank all her coffee 3 times over, and all I wanted to do was talk about God. She's like, "You got to get out of the house." So I did. I went to Luther Rice, and I said, "Hey, you got a part-time job that I can take on?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can work in admissions." And I did that. And gosh, 12, almost 13 years later, here I am as the president. It's bonkers for sure.
Man, that is a heck of a story. So 23, you moved to Georgia.
I did.
How many years did you work in the private sector?
Yeah, so it's all the way from when I graduated, probably 21. I started out at John Hancock. I sold nursing home insurance. Talking about humbling. Then I went and worked for a bank for a year, and then I moved to Georgia. So yeah, I was in industry probably for 15 years, probably.
Okay.
Total.
All right. And so, but from 23 to 40. So when did you sign up for Luther Rice?
Yeah, so it would have been 2012. So about 13 years ago, a little over 13 years ago.
So you were 40.
A little less, 30-something, yeah.
Okay.
35.
Sorry, I'm just trying to gauge the age here. Wow, that is a very cool story. So about the same, I guess I was about the same age when I said I got to do something different.
And how old are you now?
I'm 40.
Okay, yeah.
So it was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, same kind of.
Yeah, same kind of.
I mean, it's tough, right? Because you're right in the middle of. Do you have kids?
I do.
Three children. I had one daughter. You've settled into this life.
Yeah.
Everybody's accustomed to you being who you are with the money you bring in, the lifestyle that you're able to afford, times that you're able to go to church and not, and so forth. And then when you upend that and you go out on your own like you did, or me to go into ministry, my wife had to kick me out of the house. She's like, "I'm tired of you being here." My daughter's like, "What are you doing home all the time?" And it reinvigorated my home. It took a while for sure.
What was your initial plans? You were going to go to seminary and go pastor?
I'm so glad you asked, because that is what I deal with all the time, like young men like Joshua.
Yeah.
What I love about my job now is I get to help and encourage men and women who are going through the same thing I went through. They sense a call on their life, and it's undeniable that the Lord is saying, "Hey, listen, this is where there's this call, right? Just this kind of general call, like there's more to your life than just X, Y, and Z that you're doing." And that's what I sensed. And it wasn't until I went and sat down with my pastor. I said, "What do I do next?" And he said, what do you feel like you're called to do? I said, "Well, I can't say I'm called to preach because I don't know that yet. And I don't really know." And I'm so thankful that my pastor at the time said, "Listen, then just go get an education. Prepare yourself what the Lord has for you down the road." And so that's what I tell people. For Joshua and I went out to lunch the other day, and we were just talking about his call to ministry and how the Lord's working in his life and the opportunities he's put in his life. And my encouragement to him was, don't forget about an education eventually. I know you're finishing up your bachelor's degree and all that, but there's places like Luther Rice that are designed to come alongside men and women to not only encourage you, but equip you And I see it over and over, Jeremy, as I see over and over, is that once people get through their education, and it was clear to me too, once I was halfway through my MDiv and I had been working at Luther Rice, I'm like, this may be it, and the Lord was just kind of not revealed, but just opened my eyes to things where I saw, okay, this is why I was not able to clearly say I'm going to be a pastor or whatnot, because this is what he had for me in this season. Now, I'm not foolish to think that this is my season for the rest of my life, right? But I'm going to honor God in this season for what I'm doing because he prepared me for it. So,
Wow, unique perspective. So tell me more about, before we run off of this, tell me more about, so you don't know, you just were called, but you didn't know exactly what.
Yeah.
So you went to school there and you were in your studies, and then you said, hey, hire me part-time admissions. And how long have you been there now?
A little over 12 years.
Okay, that was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
All right, and you were into admissions.
That's right.
But obviously you're a leader because you're the president.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Tell me about that journey.
Yeah,
From start to...
I didn't want to be a leader anymore at that time. I'll be honest with you. I had such a high-pressured job where I was as controller. I was leading not only, it was a group of like 50 people in the accounting area over at Bard. I was leading people internationally in different manufacturing plants around the world. I just was exhausted, and it was nice to actually just get a break and to just dive into God's word and study it. But it didn't take long when I got over at Luther Rice, and I got bored, honestly, one day, and I thought, well, let me just look into the system here. And I started running reports, and then my analytical side of me started going, well, let me just start analyzing last year's enrollment versus this year's enrollment. Next thing I know, I have all these charts, I have all this analysis, and I get called into the president's office, and he goes, so you kind of know what you're doing here with this. I'm like, well, this is what I've done for 10, 15 years. It doesn't make me special. It's just, this is my skill set. He said, well, tell me more about who you are. And we did. And I think it was that point that he realized that I had the leadership experience as well, not only the technical experience. And we were at a point in time in Luther Rice where they needed both of those expertise in a person. And look, the Lord brought me at the right time for it. And
so did he just stand down and said, hey, come on board and take my job? Or
well, no, what was really interesting, no, not at all. If you know this man, that's the last thing he would do. But we were going through an accreditation cycle. We had all the accreditation really that we needed to get federal financial aid and all that. But there's what's called SACS accreditation. That's what University of Georgia has, Georgia Tech has, all the southern schools, and University of Florida, all the big schools in the Southeast. And we wanted that. That was what our constituency wanted us to have. And so it just so happened that we were going through that process when I came into my role. He appointed me vice president for administrative affairs. And he says, you, along with this other individual, I want you two to help me run and get this accreditation. And so I just tell everybody, he allowed us to see where all the bodies are buried. And we just dug around and put together an accreditation report for the next 4 years. Wow. And it led us to see every nook and cranny of the institution. I had no clue about higher ed. I'm just an accountant. And here I am now digging into this. And the Lord was just so kind. And I was able to, my leadership capabilities shone at that point, because then we went through COVID and we had to go through all that mess, as we remember. And I think what he saw more than anybody else, and I asked him this recently the other day, I said, what was it that you trusted me? He said, people would follow you. He said, people would follow you.
Wow.
And I said, okay, well, that's good to know, because I'm going on a podcast and I need to know that people follow. So
that is good.
Because you can't lead if people aren't following.
Correct.
You, right? It's a big problem.
Well, leading and managing is different, right? You know that.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so
did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent story, by the way. I can appreciate all those details. The next question I have is, how big's the team at Luther Rice?
Yeah, so on the campus, we have approximately, between faculty and staff, 45 individuals, between part-time and full-time folks.
Where's campus?
Yeah, so we're in Lithonia, Georgia, over off of Evans Mill Road, We started in Jacksonville in 62 and then moved over there in the early 90s.
Okay, so if you get off Evans Mill, you turn right or left?
You get off the exit
towards Atlanta.
Yeah, so it's on the south side of I-20. You know where the Dairy Queen is right there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you take a right there, go down Evans Mill, and it's right down that way.
Okay,
Yeah.
understood. Got it. Okay, so you got 45 employees.
Mm-hmm. And then we have adjunct faculty as well, so call it total headcount 60, 65.
Right. And now you're responsible for all 65 of those.
Yeah, and families. I think as leaders, you have to realize that you have families as well that you're responsible for.
Yep, we just talked about that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we were just talking about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
interesting.
big deal. If you don't realize that, that's a blind spot for sure.
Yeah, no, we acknowledge it at Impact every day. We have mouths to feed and wives to tend to, and it's cool. We do a birthday card for everybody in the family.
Yep.
For we have a calendar. We get everybody's birthday, and I sign handwritten cards and send it to the
It's so
family.
important.
Oh man,
Yeah.
the kids, even the kids, 5, 6, 8, 10 years old,
Yeah.
they get a card.
They
So
love
And
it.
it's for me, and yeah, they love it.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll give God the credit. So, but long story short, obviously this is a leadership podcast. So the fact that you said that you have people that will follow you, that is perfect, and it leads into what we can talk about both with your career, leadership as a whole, and then our fearless leader Jesus had followers, right? And in order for people to follow you, they have to trust you. And so that's a journey to build that trust. But let's talk about it just a little bit. 65 people. So it's seminary.
A college and a seminary. So we have undergraduate degrees, and then we have graduate degrees, and then we have doctoral degrees. So we've primarily been known over the course of our 63-year history for training men and women for ministry, right? If a man is called to pastor or to preach, we'll do that. We have many women who come that are called to other places in ministry. We will train them as well. And generally it was in the seminary where we did most of our work earlier on. It wasn't until the early 90s when we moved to Georgia where they really opened up the undergraduate degree with a Bachelor of Arts in Religion, but it was still really religiously based. And one of my main goals as president when I came in was to expand the degree offerings to include marketplace degrees as well. Here I am as an accountant, had an impact in the marketplace. I mean, they hired me, non-believers hired me to help run their business, So there is, that can happen out there. And we felt like, well, why don't we have a undergraduate degree in in business administration? In fact, I was in a meeting, a discipleship meeting with some friends during COVID, and one of the guys said, listen, my daughter, has given us a date that she's going to commit suicide. We were like, oh my goodness. And he looked at me and he said, we can't find good Christian counselors or psychologists. And he said, aren't you a president of a college? Can't you come up with a degree to train people to do this? I'm like, consider it done, So about a year later, we launched a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology taught from a biblical worldview, talking about gender identity, talking about the key issues of sexuality and so forth, things that Christians usually shy away from, but we're not going to shy away from. We're going to be bold. Just added the Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration. We added a PhD in organizational leadership. And then the last thing that we just recently added, and it was probably the biggest test on my leadership to date, was we now have access to state aid. So students can come to school at Luther Rice and get the Hope Scholarship for their undergraduate studies. And they can also do high school dual enrollment through Luther Rice. So high school students can take classes at their high school and at the same time, they take Luther Rice classes online, and it counts for high school credit and college credits.
Wow.
We didn't have access for that. We applied for it. They told us no, the state of Georgia. And we actually had to file a federal lawsuit a little over a year and a half ago to gain access to it. It was I don't lose a lot of sleep, but it compromised a lot of my time throughout the day. Just my mental capacity was shot after that. But the Lord was kind and saw us through it, and the state settled with us within 2 months. Didn't even have to go to court because they saw that we were right,
Okay.
that we should have access. So
Nice.
It was cool.
So the accreditation thing, it's interesting. Our last interview was with our sheriff, and he also came into an office with no accreditation and was tasked with that. Maybe he tasked himself with that, but to get accredited so that, there's benefits that come along with that.
Sure.
And so what I'm hearing you say is when you started, your current president at the time when you started had said, hey, let's go after this.
Yeah.
Is that something how did that come about?
Yeah, that just, again, we had two other accreditation agencies that accredited us that we were okay. It's not like we were lacking anything, but this was going to be the cream of the crop, if you will. And so it had just always been a strategic goal for years and years and years. But, I just don't think he had the right people around him to help him push this thing forward. And when myself and this other gentleman were put in the positions and he allowed us to lead.
I was about to say, so this speaks highly of his leadership.
Oh, for sure.
Because he allowed you to come in, and I can tell by sitting here with you, you're likely an alpha male, right? And so, he came in and allowed you to lead, and he partnered with you instead of being threatened by you. That speaks to his leadership.
I think you have to be, right? You don't see him, he's off camera here, but Parker Wyatt, who came in as marketing and recruiting manager a little over a year and a half ago, I was doing his job because we didn't have anybody doing it at the time.
Yeah.
And I'd been comfortable doing it and I had the ownership of it. But I realized for us to move forward as an institution, not only did I have to let go and give this to this young man, but trust him.
Delegate.
And you're going to make mistakes, you're going to have wins, but you as a team work through that and you build that trust. And here we are today.
Yeah, but it takes a strong leader to do that.
Well,
and a lot of institutions, or a lot of people won't do that because they're threatened by it. And so it speaks to your leadership and to the old president's leadership. What was his name?
His name was Dr. James Flanagan. He's still living. He's a good man. He was president for over 27 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him.
He's amazing.
Awesome. Oh, man.
That says a lot because a good leader will raise up somebody to take their job.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Like,
what you're supposed to do.
That's how it's supposed to be done is you raise up somebody that's going to replace you at some point. And I think that's biblical too.
Amen.
100%. Yeah. I mean, when we talk, Jesus told Peter, feed my sheep, build my church. He knew. And so, even when Peter failed, even when Peter denied Christ, and Jesus never did condemn Peter. All the mess that Peter did, Jesus never got mad at him. He continued to redeem himself. And Jesus would confront the issues with more responsibility. Yeah. And you just don't see that today. And so,
and Moses prepared Joshua to go into the promised land.
Yeah.
Moses wasn't so irritated going, listen, the Lord's not going to let me go to the promised land. I wish I hadn't smacked that rock, so I'm going to take it out on Joshua and everybody else. No, he prepared him for it. Yeah.
That's right. And so we follow men in the scriptures to learn leadership principles so that we can do God's work.
And we learn also what they did wrong too. That's where I've learned most of my lessons in life is watching, I wouldn't say bad leaders, but leaders make bad decisions.
Right.
The Bible makes me feel better about my walk with Christ because it's full of guys who fumbled their way through it and they made the book. That's why I say that all the time, and I stole that from somebody else. But they made the book. I mean, they are the ones who had their names written down, and they weren't perfect, but like God used them in mighty ways,
right?
And it was just that God raised them up, and if we're supposed to be Christ-like, we're supposed to raise people up too.
Oh yeah,
100%. And he included them in the book for a reason, right?
Yeah.
No, that's great. All right, so we're on our mission to. What was your initial plans with the school? So you come in, you said, "Hey, there's a lot of data here." You got your accountant head on and your leadership stuff, and you start trying to put this together. And your goal was to become, what'd you say? What was the word?
Accredited. We came accredited before I became president, so we received that beforehand. And then it was right after that it was July 1st of 2021 that I was inaugurated as president.
And did he retire?
He did.
Dr. Flanagan.
Dr. Flanagan retired after 27 years. So my first goal was just to survive, to be honest with you, personally and as an institution, right? This Christian higher ed is a very difficult sector, if you will.
Why is that, I wonder?
It's just, well, if you look around, right, the number of people going to church has been decreasing. Now, that's changed a little bit recently, but if you look over the last 15, 20, 30 years, where the seminaries used to be busting at the seam, and now you look at the number of baptisms and the number of conversions, and you look at church attendance, it's down, right? So the church is our number one feeder, for students. And if your feeder is not as full as it used to be, then plus two, we do most of our degrees online education, and that has been a significant niche for us. Now, some other people are getting into that and so forth, but I would say we're hands down the best at that because we've been doing it for over 20 years.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm just sitting here thinking, and I don't want to talk about me, but at one time in my life, I thought I was called to preach. It was about 2015 or 16. No, 12 or 13. I was heavily involved in my church. I was leading the men's ministry and a lot of different things. But I thought I was called to preach, and I went to my pastor and told him that, and he said, "That's cool." And I think he may have went to Luther Rice too. But anyway, long story short, I just never made my way into, maybe it was the church never pushed me. But I thought I was called, and I believe I've been given a gift to communicate. That's part of the reason I started a podcast.
Sure.
But and I was really good at loving people, loving God's people. I think I'm still good at that. Hospital visits, and I pastor a lot of people. Now I pastor people at my company. But and I've always loved to get up and speak, but just never continued my education for whatever reason. So it's interesting that, as you become more available to people, I believe that, and you market, which is what you're doing now, right? But as you do that, I believe that you'll pluck some people along the way that may not have been coming before.
I think so. And I think what you just said is crucial, is you are a shepherd here at your business. And that's what we want to do for other people, is if you're not called to ministry necessarily to be a pastor, you could still shepherd those that you are in charge of, whether it's at a bank or, your company here or wherever it may be, at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, it's cool. I take full ownership of my people 100%. In fact, I have exciting news, which we're going to post about next week, but I hired a chaplain for my company full-time for 2026, which I say full-time. He's just coming in part-time. He'll come in once a month, do a Bible study and devotion with my team. But we got him an email, and we hired him, and we're paying him to come in and pastor.
That's wonderful.
The men and women that work for Impact Service Group. And he is literally going to make himself available full-time 24/7. He's going to help me with, funerals and hospital visits and so on and so forth. But yeah, I asked him to come and walk alongside of me because obviously I'm a CEO of a company that's growing and busting at the seams. And so my time is limited, but just some accountability for me.
That's right.
And he's also gonna talk with me monthly to make sure that I'm keeping my feet on the ground and all that sort of thing.
That's very wise.
Yes,
extremely wise.
But yeah, you can pastor people and shepherd people without a body, without a church.
That's right.
And the people are the church, and so this is my church. So
I think that's why it's so important that y'all go into the space of the marketplace, because increasingly big universities are going more progressive and liberal, moving away from biblical values. And especially as a Christian, we're supposed to stand on those values. And there's a vacuum there of leadership that's not true. Like it's leadership, but it's leadership in the form of what we talk about all the time. Like they're just managers, right? It's not people going to do hospital visits. It's not people going to do what Christ would do in the marketplace. I think that's why I love that y'all are going into that field, because there's definitely a void that needs to be filled there with the right things of biblical values.
Well, that's why we fought so hard for the high school dual enrollment as well. There's so many, the opportunity is unbelievable. So if you're an 11th or 12th grader, you can get up to 30 credit hours paid for by the state of Georgia every year, and you don't have to pay for it. So you could come out of high school, really a college sophomore, or really a college junior if you take 60 credit hours. But a lot of those schools that offer the high school dual enrollment, the colleges, are liberal schools or schools that teach from a secular worldview. And we want to come alongside parents that are homeschool parents and kids, or just even kids that are in the high school who are Christians, and say, our education is accredited by the same accreditors as these schools over here.
Wow.
The rigor of the education is equal and on par with the accrediting agencies, but we teach it, as you just said, from a biblical worldview. The science class you're going to take is going to be extremely rigorous, but we're going to tell you that you're created in the eyes of a creator, and you're created in God's image,
Wow.
rather than the product of Darwinian evolution. We're going to teach you, the ethics from a biblical worldview rather than from a secular worldview.
There's
it's
so much
huge.
power in that right there.
Well, it is. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Because it's funny. I was teaching Sunday school class this morning, and I was telling them society today. If you're not uncomfortable in society today, you should look at your life.
Amen.
And you tell people from church that, and they look at you funny, and it's like, no, you don't understand. If you read the scriptures, and you have intimacy with God and communion with Jesus Christ, you are uncomfortable in the world. And if you're not, like that sticky feeling, like, then consider to inspect your life and your walk with Christ. And so we were talking about fasting and prayer and all kinds of other stuff, but it's so interesting that society is so opposite of what the word says. And so when you're trying to raise kids, I have 3, and all the things that we were taught growing up have all been lies or wrong or not good for us, and so it is super, super revealing just how different the church is. And so the fact that you're going to bring in some of the world and do some, I don't want to say world, but you know what I mean.
No, absolutely.
It's
that
a
you're going to
mission
bridge
field.
the two. Yeah.
It's a mission
it's a
field,
wonderful
honestly.
thing.
And when you look at it from that perspective, it's very good to have a biblical worldview from that, because you go into a workplace, it's not just, and I know we've talked about this before, it's not just a means to a paycheck. You're providing for families. You're feeding spiritually, you're feeding people. Like you talk about having Bible study at your company, like you're spiritually feeding people, then you're tending to them, you're caring for them. And that's the difference maker in what we're talking about here with the,
Well, healthy people people that are healthy at home will be healthy at work, and people that are loved on, and people that live in a biblical worldview world, are much different people. They have different values, and they have different things that make them tick, and they see things through a different lens. And it's important that we embrace that. But the fact that you have a university where you're teaching from that perspective, but yet you're bringing in the sector, the outside world, that's where the mission field is. Exactly right.
Yeah, we think of it from the perspective of, if you think of your church that you went to this morning and the number of people, let's say you had 100 people in the congregation, how many of those people, when they leave your church today and they go to work tomorrow, they're going to go into the marketplace, right?
Yeah.
Almost 100% of those people will.
Yeah.
But then we saw ourselves at Luther Rice going, okay, to what you just said, we can expand our mission, and we did. We adjusted it a little bit, not only to serve the church, but the community, for ministry and the marketplace. And when we did that, and we realized that those individuals that are in there in the congregation can now take a degree or earn a degree at Luther Rice in business or general studies or psychology or whatever, we've just expanded not only us for our sake, for an institution, but we're helping the kingdom. Because those people would have gone somewhere else.
That's right.
And received that degree, but had to hear what we heard as kids back in the day from a secular institution.
Well, what comes to mind is, rather than saying, "Hey, y'all come here," you're saying, "Hey, we're coming to you."
Yeah, right.
And that's what Jesus did.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Right?
Yeah.
Jesus went.
Especially now. I'm sorry. I don't mean
No,
to cut
go,
you off,
go.
but like you talk about the dual enrollment thing, like the statistics on my generation and down, they're scary between what they're being taught and what the the side effects of that are between depression rates, suicide rates, anxiety rates. You know, the second most prescribed medication behind antacid is antidepressants, which is scary. And, you know, like between the age group, and I looked this up the other day when I was preaching, between the age groups 10 to 35, the second leading cause of death is suicide. And so the fact that you're moving into that space and bringing in the light of the world, I think that's crucial into the culture. I mean, it's not just about the workplace or hey, I'm just going to go to a Christian university just to have the biblical background. It's like, no, we're making disciples here. That's the goal, and I love that. I love that so much.
Interesting. No, it's good. That's exactly what we have to be doing, is chasing that. So, all right. So how do you personally lead other people there? Right now, when I say that, we're talking about fundamentally, what you have a team of people, but how do you lead them?
So before I get into that, I've changed my methodology as to how to prepare myself to lead. And that's just really come over the last 6 to 12 months. If you don't mind me, just rather quickly.
No.
I read through Psalm 51, which is David's psalm of repentance, if you will. He had just been confronted by Nathan the prophet about his infidelity with Bathsheba. Nathan gave him this scenario about the poor man and the rich man having these young lambs. A guy comes into town. The rich man takes the only lamb from the poor man and gives it to him for, to eat. And David, just in that scenario with Nathan the prophet, is just upset. He's like, how would this guy ever do that? How could he? I'm just furious that he would do that. And Nathan looked at him and said, well, that's you. That's what you did when you took Bathsheba from Uriah.
Yeah.
And when you read through Psalm 51, that is David's repentance of that sin.
He was broken.
He was broken, and he was truly broken before the Lord. And what I think was, from a leadership perspective, what changed my life, as I go through it and you read through Psalm 51, it's really through verse 12. He's repenting before the Lord. He's asking the Lord for forgiveness. He's just being very forthright with truths about who God is and who he is not. And then it's in verse 13, after all of that, after he repents and he's given everything he has to the Lord, he says, then I will teach transgressors their way and sinners will return to you. And then verse 15, and my mouth will declare your praise. So what I learned through that psalm was that as a leader, even as a preacher, when I preach, if I want to be able to clearly articulate the gospel, or I want to be the best leader I can so that people can just follow me unapologetically, is that I need to be right with the Lord at all times. Now, I can't, that's impossible, right? Because I'm still a sinner, saved by grace. But I try very, very hard on a daily basis to get before the Lord before my day starts. Just ask him to forgive me. Forgive me for what I know that I've done, and if there's anything else that I've done, so that I can be as positioned as well as I can, as good as I can, to be the best leader I can for that day. And I think that's what Psalm 51 says, is you have to do all of that first, and then you can do this. Then you'll be effective in leading. So that has changed me tremendously. And then when, how do I lead? I don't think I've ever read a leadership book in my life. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. And I'm not saying that out of arrogance. I'm not saying that out of ignorance. It's just I'm just not a big reader, right? And
Wow.
I've learned what I know how to lead by just doing, trial and error, and watching other people succeed and not succeed. People either in my life or even external to me. I don't agree with their ethics. I don't agree probably with their worldview, but I watch the likes of a Jeff Bezos or a Elon Musk or a Mark Zuckerberg. These are young guys running huge companies where people are following them. Again, I don't agree with their worldview, but they're doing something where people are following them and they're building these enterprises. And I watch them and I learn what they're doing right, and I learn what they're not doing right. But the one thing that seems to have worked for me is that just getting in and leading by example. Just lead by example. First, through repentance, being the best example I can as a godly leader, a godly man, a godly husband, a godly friend. And then two, I'm not one to just tell you to go do it and just leave you at it. I'm going to roll up my sleeves. I'm going to get in there with you, help you figure it out, and then at some point leave you to it, trust you with it, check in from time to time, and move on to the next. And so I love getting in and helping people. I love teaching. I love answering questions, and that seemed to work for me.
Well, that is that's a very good answer, right? In fact, I'm almost lost for words. It's a perfect answer. But you do read because you read the Bible. Yeah. So you might not have read the leadership books by a bunch of secular people.
This is true. I have read the best leadership book.
You follow Christ, and you are a believer, and so you don't need anything more. But it's so fresh. It's so good to hear you say that. And the things that you just said, we'll go back and listen to and write down and take notes, because I was clicking in my while he was saying it. But roll your sleeves up. The servant, he was serving, right? And then he was trusting. He was teaching, training. I mean, all those things are what good leaders do. And reading is one of them, which he does the Word of God, which that's all you got to have. But that was a very good explanation for how you lead and what you believe in. So thank you for that.
Sounds like a guy I've heard of. Goes by the name of Jesus.
Oh gosh, all right.
That's what that sounds like to me.
We model for sure.
Yeah. No, and the humility is good.
Yeah.
And so we believe at Impact that first you lead, and then you influence, because that's what leadership is, and then you impact. And so that leads me to the next question, which is, and I want you to tell me a story, but tell me a time where you realized that you were making an impact and that people were following you. So I want to say that. So think about that for just a minute. There's been one time in my life where I had a guy tell me that was in fact following me, and he said to me, he said about me in a conversation. He and actually a leader at that organization. He was working for me, but I heard them in a conversation, and he said, Jeremy, makes me want to do better, makes me want to do more.
I like that.
And makes me want to do better. And so I kind of overheard that. And the next day on the job, I said, hey man, I just want to ask you something. What is it? Yeah. I want to be able to put that in a bottle and use it later. And he said, Jeremy, you make me want to do more and be better every single day. And I can't really explain that. And he said, you're worth following. And so that was really like, I was on my journey through leadership, but that is what I want to hear from every person I lead. And so, but when you've heard that you're making an impact on someone's life. And so tell me about a moment when you realized you were making an impact.
An impact in someone's life, or just
period, an impact.
Well, I think I want to go back to it was the biggest struggle in my leadership, in my history of leading. It was when we made the decision that we had to enter into a lawsuit with the state of Georgia because we were told that we were too religious. And
oh wow,
and it was an old archaic piece of legislation that was still in there, but we weren't going to win this at the courthouse. We weren't going to win it at the state house. We weren't going to win it at the state house getting the law changed. And that's fine. I understood that. But up until that point, I had settled in my mind that I did not even want to go the route of a lawsuit. I just did not want to go that route. But when it came to the point where we had to enter into that, I had to convince a significant number of constituencies that we should move forward. One, I had to convince my wife.
Most important, because she was going to be riding this thing with me,
fail or win. Two was my board of directors, and then 3, the faculty, the staff, the students, because, in the Christian world, legal action or lawsuits is, frowned upon generally.
That's right.
And so we had to do a lot of digging, a lot of soul searching, a lot of studying, a lot of praying, seeing that what we were doing was actually biblical. There was a tremendous amount of time of me having to think through, and I think this is key for leadership, is you have to put yourself in the shoes of all your constituents, because all your constituents are different, right? You can't treat all your constituencies the same. Like I couldn't treat my board of trustees the same as the faculty members, same as the staff, same as the students, because they all have different needs. They have all different responsibilities. And I had to frame in such a way why it was important that we did this, what the risks were, what the benefits were, how you could trust me, and how you would know if we're succeeding. And it was the Lord had to have been in it, because it went as good as it could have gone. But at the end of that whole process, when Parker and I go to a local Christian school, what was it, about 3 or 4 or 5 months ago, and we're standing in front of junior and seniors, and there's these 3 young men who are called to ministry who say, I'm coming to Luther Rice, and I'm going to do my dual enrollment with you, and I'm going to get that Hope Scholarship. And they've been on our campus several times. They're telling the whole world about why they're coming to Luther Rice. They're so excited about it. They're so excited about just being part of our ministry. And I look back and go, there was a day where I made a decision and then had to engage my leadership skills to make that happen a year and a half later, where those young men could come into that school. And it wasn't easy, for sure, but what it taught me was that your people have to trust you. They have to trust you, and you have to give them a reason to trust you before you make those big decisions. Like, had I not earned that trust before, then it would have probably been very difficult for people to trust me at that point. But they had seen that I dealt with them, hopefully in a very honest, godly way. A man of integrity is what I try to be, as much as I can. And
do you have any people on your team that don't trust you?
I don't think so. They wouldn't tell me if they did, but I don't think so. That's not to say I haven't had people over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes with the course, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing I think leadership, it really makes it easier, is when you have a strong team. And that's one of the hardest things, I think, as a leader, is identifying how strong your team is to begin with and what you need to do to make it stronger. And because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with families, you're dealing with legacies there. And sometimes you got to get the right people in the right seats in the bus to move forward.
Yeah, no, it's so critical. That is the most critical. I'm reading a book right now, and I don't know the name of it, but it's about a team. It's about team building. And, a lot of leaders don't place enough importance on the team.
Yeah.
Okay. The leader's job is to build a team. And so when the leader builds a team and the team gets stronger, the leader's influence grows even it's like 10x, right? So the team, once you build a team, then your leadership compounds faster. And so it's very important, and it's foundational. In fact, that's part of the reason that I was telling y'all the story earlier before we started recording, that I was building and modeling my team off of the team that Christ had built, in his first 3 and his inner circle and his first 12. And so my goal was to build that and then change the world from there, right? And so just like Jesus did. But, the fact that along the way, we leaders, we have people that we have to deal with. And if you have 60 of them, but you have trust, and you have to have, you have to work on all these things with all the people on your team. And everybody's at a different level, and you have to focus on and be really intentional. So,
not only is everybody at a different level, I mean, things are going on in lives.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, Parker's wife is sick.
Right.
Okay, so he's been home trying to take care of her for a couple days.
Right.
I got to be cognizant of that.
Yep.
I think that makes you a better leader too, is when you understand what's going on in the life of your people.
Yeah.
You don't
Oh,
have to get down to the nitty gritty, if you will, but it's nice to know those things, because then there's expectations. You're not setting false expectations.
Well, you
for a
lower them just a
season.
little bit when you need to.
And then you heighten them back up when you need, at other times, right? I mean, there's, for
No,
sure.
that's incredible. And there is things that go on in their life that stressors,
Yeah.
and sometimes they won't show up 100% because of certain things going on at home. So
That's right.
makes a lot of sense.
That means
Go ahead.
that says a lot too, because those people have to trust you to tell you when those things are going
Mm-hmm.
on, and not just mask up as soon as they walk through the office doors.
Right.
When they're able to open up to you and be like, "Hey, man, wife's been sick, kids have been sick. I don't know that you're going to have me 100% today."
Yeah.
And you're able to say, "You know what, you're good, man," or go take the day and go take care of them, or whatever it is. That says a lot about the leader you are, because managers don't do that and bosses don't do that. Leaders do that.
Right. Well, yeah. But and you're confident enough, and they're confident enough in you to be able to tell you that and share that with you.
That's right.
Do you feel like your leadership style has evolved?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
I used to think that I wanted to be friends with everybody. I thought that's what the key to leadership was, is if people liked you.
Go sell ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not going to work. Yeah. I remember my dad used to say when I was a kid, he's like, "You don't go to work to make friends. You go to work to work." Now, that's a good Midwest blue collar. I mean, that's what I grew up in, right? I was like, yeah, that's right. That's what I do. But there's truth to that, in the sense that if you go to inspire people, if you go to motivate people, if you go and people will trust you, I think a byproduct or a fruit of that people will like you. They will. I think the better word is respect. They'll respect you. And I used to go to work to want to be liked. Now it's more of, and hear me, it's a weird word, but I don't mean it in a haughty or whatever, but the respect issue is a big deal, in the sense that they have to respect that you know what you're doing, that you've got this vision, that you're taking them the right path, that they're willing. I mean, when you're leading folks and people are, I've followed men, I follow people now, right? Like, I'm just not a leader and everybody follow me. I'm following other individuals. I'm putting my trust in this person. I'm putting my livelihood in this person. And so there's a sense in which you have to respect that person to do it, because if you don't, then, I've said it a million times, I don't want that lead. I've had a leader before, a good man, but he was one of those that would just ride you and ride you and ride, and we would get the job done. Oh, we did a ton of work under his leadership. But then when he would turn around, we were hiding behind the trees, man, because we didn't know what to expect next. And that's not a good leader, right? And so anyway, yes, it has evolved over time, going from just trying to be a friend to everybody to more of earning the respect and then leading from there.
But being their friend, you learn that doesn't work.
Well, just if that's your main goal. I mean, you can be friendly with people and you can go in and make friends in the workplace and so forth. But if my main goal is, I think you're going to be a better employee and I'm going to get more productivity out of you by just being super friendly to you all the time and telling you what you want to hear, and we're going to be buddy and go hang out on the weekends, and that's, at the end of the day, I don't think that works collectively in the area of leadership, because it's impossible, because you can't replicate that, you can't scale that. But there are individuals that I work with now that I will go do things with after work.
Yeah,
it's a byproduct of it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that in fact, I may have put my finger on it, or I may not have. When your followers know that you do and you will have their best interest at heart, 9 times out of 10 they'll follow you.
Yeah,
and it doesn't mean you're their friend, although sometimes it is a byproduct of it. And so as long as you stay focused on the mission, the vision, and protecting your people, they'll follow you.
Yeah.
You know, but
And I
as
think
soon as they
it'll be a
feel-
heavy byproduct too. I think people will enjoy being around
Sure.
you and want to talk to you and want to share things with you. That
Sure.
is, that's a byproduct of it for sure.
Yeah, that's good. And this is an off the cuff question here. But have you ever, in your leadership, have you ever made the mistake of not staying too close to one of your people?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. That's a danger
Yeah.
because you can get either, I mean, there's so many different scenarios that can happen there, but yeah, that's happened before.
Yeah. So I'll tell you one of mine real quick because we like stories on the show. But I had a guy that called me, and basically, I thought he was going to quit, and I was like, "What in the world has happened?" I had not been. I went and seen him, visited with him, went and seen him, said, "Hey man, what's going on?" And he felt like I didn't care about him, but that was not my intention, you know. And so I was like, "Dude, that's crazy that you feel this way. Like, why didn't we?" You know, there may be some other stuff going on, but at the end of the day, I almost lost him, and I've learned from that. I said, you know, stay close to your people. And so but sometimes my people I probably get on their nerves. I try to call them once a week, right? Just, hey, because that's the thing. When you're running crazy, we're busy, we're covered up. You don't really do it intentionally, but sometimes people need you to love on them. And so anyway, have you ever had a time where that was true for you, and what did you do?
Well, going back to loving on people, I think my job too is to set up levels of leadership below me then as well, a good executive team and supervisors and managers, and teach them to love on the people too. So it can't all come from the CEO or the president or what. I mean, we have to model it. That's our job, is to model leadership and model all this. But then it's what happened to Moses, right? He's like, this is exhausting me. I'm trying to settle all these disputes with all these people all day long, and his father-in-law comes in and goes, "Listen, man, you got to delegate a little bit, or you're gonna burn you into the ground." And so I try to teach at least my executive leadership to do what we're talking about here, so that it's consistent on the way down. Have I ever had anybody, a leader, not pay attention to me? And listen, I don't know. I can't think of any example, but I can tell you all throughout my life, especially when I was before Luther Rice, I was highly insecure. I think when you're young and you're growing in a company or whatever it is, and you're starting to build a life and you're building a family and so forth, the pressures start getting on you. If there's one thing at work that, you know, everything's humming, but then one day you go in and your boss looks at you squirrely, you're thinking, "Oh my, like I'm getting fired today," and then it just ruins your day, right? And then you start getting insecure, and then you stop talking to him, and the next thing you know, there's this, like you said, there's this gap and so forth. So yeah, I've been there. I've been there before, and I've just had to, thank goodness the Lord turned that around for me and said, "Listen, just go back to what you were doing and you'll be fine."
Yeah, you got to close those gaps.
Yeah.
As a leader, there are gaps. They come up all the time.
Sure.
And you got to keep them closed.
You've got to mention, you got to recognize those and keep them closed.
Yeah. But the awareness of that, some people go through and they just lead. They're thinking about the next. And sometimes there's somebody that falls off, and the good leader goes back and picks them up and keeps them with them.
Well, it's like the sheep, right? Jesus said, "Hey, that one goes away. What are you going to do about it?" You know?
Come on now.
And
That's right. All right. So here's a question I love. Maddie, are you going to speak over there?
Look, y'all are just, we're good. I mean, me, myself, and I.
I thought about calling her out too. I was like, "Maddie, what do you think about everything that's
Y'all
been
haven't
said?"
even, y'all just keep going. It's good. It's great.
Well, feel free to jump in over there, Maddie.
I have to raise my hand.
Yeah. Tell me about, I always admire strong leaders, and I want to know who currently influences you, or who has had a major influence in your life. Now, you said the president before, Dr. Flanagan.
yes.
He was obviously a major influence in your life. But even back before that, you said that you were saved at the church maybe that pastor, or tell me who along the way, 2 or 3, maybe just one really good mentor that helped you become who you are today.
It's a good question. I would have to say Dr. Flanagan was my number one mentor. I didn't even know I needed one at the time. And he was a father figure to me. A father figure, not only just as I have a great father, he's still living and we've got a great relationship, but Dr. Flanagan filled that gap here because my father's in Arizona. And so he was immediate and got to talk to him every day. But there was also, he was a father in the faith, right? He really stressed to me integrity, about being a man of God and leading within not only a Christian higher ed, area, but just in Christian in general. Because I had come from the secular world, and I brought from that just my hard nose. It's all about the numbers. If we don't meet the numbers, heads are going to roll, kind of thing. That was that kind of mentality before I came to Luther Rice, and he helped me kind of soften my language a little bit, soften my people skills a little bit, and I just thank the world for him. I meet with him. I talk to him probably once a week. I just had lunch with him the other day, and I'll tell him, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and he'll tell me, yeah, that's a good idea, or that's not a good idea.
Do you listen?
That's the best.
Well, I have to because he'll tell me I told you so if it goes wrong. So he's that kind of guy, which I love.
The fact that you have that is a superpower.
Oh, it's amazing.
So you know.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people don't have that, and I'm very thankful that I do.
I have that too. It's amazing. So I have 2 guys, mentors, that have been mentoring. One of them has been mentoring me for 20 years. And I can call him anytime, which my dad would also be that, but he passed away in 2020. So I don't have a father figure in my life. So the guys that I have had mentor me along my life have been very impactful. But I have 2 guys particularly right now. I can send them a text, and they'll answer me in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
And they'll say, what you need, what can I do? And I can ask them a question. What do you think about this? And they'll just shoot me straight.
I love it.
That is a blessing. And that is favor of God. If you don't have that, you should seek that out. So, because here's the funny thing. Most men, and even leaders, are I don't want to say insecure. You alluded to being insecure earlier, but some are insecure to where they won't do that. And so you got to have a confidence in yourself. But you should enlist people to mentor you, okay? And so if you're listening to the show right now, remember we're also talking to a crowd. And if you're listening right now and you do not have someone like what he just described, you need to find them. And the way you find them is you look at your life and you think, where am I? Where do I need to grow? And who has already been there, right? And then you literally find someone that would either tethered to you via a person or a friend or a church or a family or a business, and you seek that person out and you ask them to mentor you. And so once you build a relationship with them, of course, you're taking a lot of their time. But I built a relationship with a guy through some just going and seeing him, going out of my way. And we had a relationship. Now I can call him anytime and he answers my questions and he helps me in ways that I'll never be able to thank him for. So anyway, cool stuff. Anybody else?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've had influences over my life, right? Like I said, I do a lot of self-reflecting. I think that's it's a superpower, but it's also, also very detrimental because I'm very hard on myself as well. And when I do self-reflect, but I also analyze others and what they do and what they do well and what they don't well. So I don't think I've never had a mentor like Dr. Flanagan up until now, but I've certainly been influenced over the years.
Here's the next one. Who are you mentoring?
Who am I mentoring? I see you narrowed your raises.
Okay, man, we're getting him on next.
Yeah. You need to have this young man on. Parker's been wonderful for a little over a year and a half now. I've known him before that, but when we brought him in, I told him just run as fast as you can. Now, there are boundaries you're going to bump your head against, and just bounce back.
We'll work it out.
We'll work it out, but just run, take ownership. And he's not afraid to ask questions. He's not. He told me the other day. He said, "I don't want to just my feathers to be fluffed. If there's something that needs to be corrected or whatever, tell me straight."
Amen.
And
that's good part.
It's huge.
You keep that about you, buddy, because you need fluffing regularly, and most young men do. And it's hard to find someone that's willing to take that.
Yeah.
But being willing, constructive criticism, called it, or whatever you want to call it. But I tell people all the time, don't tell me what's good about it.
Yeah.
Tell me what's bad, because I know it's there. And if we're not careful, we'll overlook it, and then you don't grow from it, right? So it's so important that you're being mentored as a leader and that you're mentoring.
Well, I think it's also important to have a life outside of the organization that the Lord's put you responsible for, right? Just recently, last couple of years, I've been working with 2 young men related to me. We've been doing Bible study. We try to do it once a month. It got a little hairy over the last couple of months, but we're going to start back next week.
Holidays are rough.
Yeah.
Don't feel judged.
Yeah. I'm judging myself already.
Yeah.
But I love preaching. I get a lot of opportunity to preach and share about Luther Rice, going around the United States and telling people about Luther Rice. But just recently, over the last about 2 months now, I've had a regular opportunity to preach at a church in Porterdale that one of the most brave individuals I've ever met. They left the United Methodist Church on principle. They did not agree with where they were going, and they left the United Methodist Church, left the Methodist Church, and now they're just sitting there going, "We need help." It's like I relate it to a couple that's been married 60 years, and then one of those spouses dies, and they're going, "I don't even know how to do the laundry. I don't know how to do the dishes," because they've had the Wesleyan Church telling them what to do for 100 years. And I've had the opportunity to go in and preach on a regular basis and help them and pastor them. And it has made a tremendous impact in my life in just the last 2.5 months. I can't tell you the richness that I feel in my life, and the difference it's made in my home life and so forth. And it's allowed me, I think, to help me be a better spiritual leader in my house now, because I have an outlet outside of Luther Rice. And I think it's important that outlet be grounded in ministry. It be grounded in the gospel. Listen, I love to play golf. I play golf my whole life. I have other hobbies, love watching football and so forth. But that extracurricular activity that you have in your life as a leader, it can be one of those things. But if one of those things is not related to the gospel, then you're going to burn out.
It's going to feed your ego.
Oh, for sure.
So there's 2 things. I love what you're saying right now, because it's light bulbs going off in my head.
Is it speaking to you?
It is. So
Hey, Maddie.
But hey, Maddie.
Sorry, I forgot to raise my hand.
No, you got something to say over there.
I was just saying, it feels, there's life outside of where God has placed you today.
Yeah, it's great. Serving.
Serving is key.
You got to serve.
Mm-hmm.
And for the man of God, that when God anoints your life, you don't find fulfillment in worldly things. And you love to play golf. I love to play golf, but I don't play golf because there's one reason why I don't play golf. It's for me. Mm-hmm. And I used to bass fish and deer hunt and do all these things for me. And that does not make me happy. Yeah. And once you realize that...
Does that come with age, you think, too? I mean, obviously it comes with wisdom, but...
I'm going to jump in there and say, yeah, it probably does, because I struggle with that a lot more myself, of like doing the things that I love to do, because I'm like, well, I'm getting into independence at my stage in life and like walking in that. And I think y'all have probably done it long enough where you're like, hey man, there's nothing there. Like you're going to do that, and eventually you're just going to be like, this is dumb. I'm not getting anywhere with it. I just want to jump in there and say, yeah, I think it does, because I've caught myself in that trap at my age more often than it seems like y'all probably do now.
What do you think, Maddie?
I agree with Joshua. I think it comes with age, or I guess maybe experience.
Maybe
so.
wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the older that you get, the more experiences you have, and so you kind of get burnt out or whatever. But I think that for me, it's like, I used to work at a golf club, loved to play golf, but I'm here now because of the path that he has put in my life. Jeremy's opened up so many doors for me that is all, faith-based, which it wasn't like that where I was working before. I don't know if it's age. I'm only 35, but it definitely, over the last year, I've definitely grown to understand that those fun things that I do for me, play golf, whatever it is, isn't where I want to be.
Well, the reason I bring that up is I think, I've met with Joshua several times and meet with Parker all the time. I think there's this tendency to want to rush things, right? How old are you again?
22.
22. Parker's 24.
Wise beyond his
Yeah, absolutely. But there's this idea that, I want it now. And I just try to encourage these young men too. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You'll learn some stuff just through getting older.
To answer your question, your initial question was, do you think it's age? I don't know, because I know some people that are older than me that
It's true.
that don't see what I see. So I think that, and to Maddie's point, she's 35, and to Joshua's point, he's 22. Bro, when I was 22, you know what I was thinking about? Me.
Yeah.
Me and me some more, and then what I could get. Okay. And so I was telling the Sunday school class this morning, when I was 35 years old, 34 years old, I lost my dad. And I was already a believer, a follower of Christ. I was born again and saved and, heavily involved in church and all that stuff. But when my father died, it ignited a flame inside of me that I can't explain. And I think it is the anointing of God. And so what I realized was I was living the life I thought I wanted, but it was all about me.
Yeah.
And even, again, I wasn't a bad guy, but I had a farm and I had cows and I had a job and I had this big life that I planned for. And I wrote about when I was freshman in high school, the life I wanted when I graduated high school. I wanted a farm and a white fence and horses, and I wanted a hunting club, and I wanted a bass boat, and I wanted four-wheelers, and I had all that stuff. And it left me empty.
Yeah.
And so then I realized, when my father died, I realized now I need to run from all of that self stuff, all the flesh. And so I went on a journey, and here we are today. And of course, now I can confidently say I do nothing for me. Nothing. The reason is because I know when I do, it's not good for me. Okay? And so what do? I started a company to where it forces me to do for others.
That's right.
And so if it, you'll see Joshua, we hunt together in a hunting club, and I don't really go unless my kids are with me.
Yeah, he brought his camper home 2.5 months before the season was over.
It wasn't that long ago, but yeah, I take my kids hunting.
Yeah.
Now there's nothing wrong with going hunting. Lord, don't let me get framed for that. But you want to go hunting and fishing, do that. But you want to make sure that you do more for others than you do for yourself.
Yeah.
And I believe that the anointing on your life, the call on your life, dictates that.
And that's why I think ministry is probably a good place to start with that, because it forces you to serve.
Yeah.
It forces you to die to yourself and serve another.
I told my wife one time when we were initially in our first church ever, where I was there if the doors were open, I made very little money. I had no money. I didn't have much stuff. We lived in a little, 1,800 square foot house in a neighborhood, but I was so happy then, and I was serving. And then I went on a journey where I bought a farm and I built this big place, and I didn't have any neighbors, and I lived out in the woods, and everybody wants to go and live in a cabin in the woods. They think they do, where there's no neighbors, right? That's what they think until you get there.
Yeah.
And you realize that that's not what God created you for. And so you realize, and then I said, well, I'm going to go live in a neighborhood. And people are like, you're an idiot. You sold this big farm. And so I moved into a neighborhood on the lake. I bought a house on Lake Oconee, and I was making plenty of money. I had a lake house and jet skis and boats, and I was living it up. And then I thought, this is not making me happy. And so I ran from that and moved to town with neighbors, with nothing, sold everything I owned and started a company, Impact Service Group. And then here we are sitting. But now there's guardrails in my life where I have to serve everyone around me. And so, yeah, extracurricular, what I do, I serve, go to church and serve.
I can attest to that too, because I've seen him every time he's been down at our hunting camp. See, I'm going out there to read my Bible for me and the Lord, which is fine. He's out there with his daughters, and by God, he's doing everything in his power to get them an opportunity to just even see a deer.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the entire trip is, whether he's cooking dinner or he's, getting there early enough and they're asleep in the car, and he's like getting everything together and waking them up, and like they're setting up these contraptions so they can actually shoot. Like, I mean, all this stuff, like he's actually like, not to be, not to have a slang type of thing, but like he's smoking what he's selling. I mean, he is, I'm telling you, I've seen it out in the woods where there's nobody else. He easily could just, he easily could go out there and just do it for him, but he really is doing that. And I can definitely.
Well, at the end of the day, just you want to practice what you preach. You want to smoke what you sell.
What you sell. That's how people know it's real.
There you go. But essentially, you want to be a part of something bigger than yourself. You want to serve and other people. That's everything you do. You want to be about others, and that's how you find fulfillment in this life, and you get purpose there.
That's right.
And so, as a leader,
I think you have to have purpose outside of your job, whatever it may be.
There you go.
I've done it both ways.
Nice. And you found out the best way is to have purpose.
It is. Now it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of sacrifice and so forth, but the reward is significant for sure. Yeah.
That's good, man. So, Maddie, did you have a question over there?
No, nothing that pertains to what we're talking about now. No. We are going on an hour and 20, so
I'll keep rolling. I'm loving this.
Yeah. Just like to give the updates. I guess one thing that going back to Luther Rice is kind of what can businesses or Impact Service Group, Impact Show, or is there ways to get involved for businesses that can advocate for you guys to come to schools or whatever it might be?
Yeah, that's actually excellent. Thank you for bringing that up. There's two ways. One is if you wanted to support Luther Rice, right? We always, we have a lot of businesses, we have a lot of churches, a lot of individuals that give to Luther Rice financially, because what we were able to do is then pour that right into student scholarships. We have a lot of people raising their hand wanting to go to school, but a lot of people can't pay for it or pay for a full amount just because prices are high and everything, and education usually takes the back seat. And we've just been have a lot of faithful givers to give over time. So if there's any companies out there that want to, we're a ministry, we're 501c3. You can give to us, get the tax deduction. That'd be wonderful. And if you want to go student scholarships, 100% of that will go towards student scholarships. The other thing that we're going to start launching here very shortly, and this would be a good place to say it, is that businesses around the Atlanta area, we want to come in and partner with businesses like yours. And so let's say, Jeremy, you have somebody here that wants to finish their bachelor's degree in business administration, and it would help their performance here, or whatever bachelor's degree that we offer that they can finish. We would like to help you do that and give significant scholarships to those individuals to do that. We believe in our Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration degree so much that we're willing to come alongside and give some significant scholarships. And what we would do, for example, we would partner with the company and say, okay, how much are you willing to give if you're willing to invest in this employee? We're willing to invest in this much, which means the employee is just paying pennies on the dollar to get their undergraduate degree. So if anybody's interested, if there's any businesses around Atlanta that are interested in learning more about that, they can contact me. They can contact me through Jeremy or Maddie here. But we would love to offer that to you. And you could be the first one.
I was going to say,
Jeremy.
it's interesting. It might need to be something I need to be talking to you about. As we grow Impact Service Group, my goal is clear. It's in there on the wall. We're going for the $100 million in 20 years in revenue per year. So, I don't talk about that very often, but my goal is to have the biggest impact we can possibly have. And I know that for us to do that, I've got to be whole and educated. So I have entertained the idea of going back to school, and so maybe we'll talk about that sidebar.
We can make that happen for
and
sure.
then I would certainly look. I believe in further education, and my people will be invested in heavily. And so, if there's, do you guys do leadership development courses or anything like that?
Yeah, so we also have certificates, which are really nice. So sometimes people don't want to do a full degree. They don't want to do a whole undergraduate degree or a whole master's degree. And we say, all right, listen, we can do certificates. So we have a master's certificate in leadership. Right now, it's 3 classes that you take.
Wow.
And then once you complete that, you have a accredited certificate from Luther Rice, certificates in biblical studies, theology, counseling, ministry, and so forth.
So, I mean, if someone's doing these classes, so if Jeremy, I mean, so is it on their own time, or is it class schedules? Like you go?
Yeah, so that's the beautiful thing about online education is that
online.
you don't have to be online at any particular time. You just have to get your weekly assignments done. So we have 3 semesters. We have a spring semester, a fall semester, and a summer semester. And for example, the spring semester is going to be starting January the 19th. And it will go through the end of April.
You got 8 days?
Yeah, come on, brother.
Not ready yet.
But the academic week starts on Sunday at 12 a.m. and Monday at 12 a.m. and goes through Sunday 11:59. So you have all week to get your assignments done. You just have to get it. You just have to get them done, and that's papers, reading assignments, discussion board posts, quizzes, whatever it is, within our learning management system. It's called asynchronous, meaning you can be on at 2:00 in the morning or 2:00 in the afternoon. And we have video lectures from all of our professors. So you're not teaching yourself, you're engaging with students. It's very robust. We try to make it as much like on campus as we can. But yeah, we make it so that you can fit it into your busy schedule. For example, when I went to Luther Rice, I did my Master of Divinity at Luther Rice. I would read during my lunch hour. I would watch my videos late at night, and I would fall asleep. And when I knew I'm gonna say fixin'. I'm a Yankee, but I've already learned how to say fixin'. When I was fixing to fall asleep, I would look at the time and I'd just write it down. And then I would wake up the next day and start my video right back at that time and catch. It's different. If you're on campus, I mean, how many times have you been in the classroom and you want to ask a question and you finally muster up the guts to answer and you ask the question, and then that whole time you're trying to muster up the guts to ask that question. You didn't hear what he said the whole time. So now you've missed 30 minutes of the whole lecture because you're just insecure and all that kind of stuff. And I've been there so many times. So the great thing about online is that you can watch that video over and over and over again till it's ingrained in your brain.
Yeah, that's good.
So yeah, you can fit it into your schedule, Maddie.
Yeah.
And those certificates they're short but impactful.
What? You're 52.
I'm going on 51.
51.
Don't age him.
Yeah, 51.
Golly.
What are your long-term goals for Luther Rice?
It's a good
You got to
question.
be going somewhere.
Yeah, we are going somewhere. First and foremost, I don't want to compromise the foundation of what we do. But it sounds yeah, okay, well that's great. But listen, the forces out there that want to creep in to say, get a little bit more liberal on this. You can probably get more students if you are a little bit more lenient on that and so forth. And we're just not going to do it. We're going to be steadfast in our conservative biblical worldview. We're going to be unapologetic about it. We'll be very winsome about it. But we're not going to sway from it. We believe that it is the truth and it is worth fighting for. Long term, I would love to see us continue to not only train men and women for ministry. We do an excellent job at that, but I also would like to get into the trades, meaning I think I've seen a resurgence just recently in men and women who feel like, maybe higher ed's not for me. My daughter was that way, went to Gwinnett Tech and came out of there with no debt and was making more money than I did when I came out of school, and just did it in 2 years. And it's just, so I think we have a great opportunity as a school maybe to get into that area. What I also like about it is there are tons of churches around the state of Georgia that need pastors. And there are men and women, there are men right now like me sitting in those churches in the congregation who may be welders, They may be HVAC guys. They may, you probably have some on your, on your crew right now, and they're sitting in church going, I may be called to do that, but I don't have the bandwidth to go and do a full degree in ministry. Well, no. Well, we can work with you on that. We could come alongside you, get you the ministry training you need, get you the credentials you need, but also honor the fact that you're going to work during the day and you're going to be a pastor at the same time. I think that's the future of the church. Now you're going to have these huge mega churches, I understand, and we're never gonna not have them. But the majority of the churches moving forward are going to be smaller churches, 100 people or less, and they're going to be pastored by men who are bivocational.
Wow.
And so that's really where I see, if you would have asked me that question 30, 40 years ago, that wouldn't have been the trend. Mm-hmm. The trend was everybody wants to be like a Charles Stanley or a Jerry Vines or whatever, these big pastors, and have these big mega churches. And if you don't have those, then you're a failure. That's changed.
Yeah.
And the thing about Luther Rice, what I love is that we've always been the blue collar school, right? There are other schools around the nation, the prestigious, if you will. They do a wonderful job. They have the prestigious reputation and so forth. Luther Rice has got an impeccable reputation, meaning standing firm to God's word, not having any, moral failures and so forth. But when I say we're blue collar, it's just our pastors, our people who are in ministry, the men and women who have gone through our school are just everyday folks like us. And it's just refreshing to know that, we're not trying to be someone we're not.
How long does it take to get a degree for that?
Jeremy, just his wheels are turning.
Yeah, so the undergraduate degree, if you have to start from ground zero, it takes anywhere between 4 to 6 years. Just depends on how fast you go through that. Generally speaking, we serve a lot of non-traditional students. We're getting more traditional students. Like you're a traditional student you're graduating from Truett McConnell, but a non-traditional student would be like 24 and above. We have a significant number of students like that. So it takes them a little longer because they're trying to fit it in, like you just said, Maddie. Mm-hmm. I've got work, I've got family, I've got kids, and I've got to fit this in.
Yeah.
So, but that's what we're good at, is that our professors know that that's our constituency, and we take care of those and try to encourage them to continue.
Well, you let me get my company off the ground, and I may come sign up.
Hey, rock on. We've got a spot for you. I've got a marketing and recruiting guy right here. I'll have you fill out a card after this.
He'd already wrote it down.
He's got you an application printed.
I'll say that's what you're talking about. It's also, I've seen a lot more people my age also working while they're in school, and I know that'll translate into what you would call a traditional student. So if there's anybody that's my age listening, I know a few people who are there right now, and they're killing it. It's going good.
Well, thank you for mentioning it, because I do want to say one thing. If people are hanging on this late, especially younger men, if there's younger men listening, or it could be older men, it could be whatever, but particular men who have a call to preach or to pastor, don't let that call pass you by. At least follow up on it like you did. You followed up.
Yeah.
I mean, but obviously the Lord, it would appear that he had another path for you.
Yeah.
I think that there's several different milestones. We talked about this at lunch, Joshua and I. It's first the call. It's the personal call. It's second, others will affirm you. And then third, there's an opportunity. And we were talking through that with Joshua. He feels a personal call. Are you okay with me sharing this?
Oh, no.
Second of all, other people have certainly affirmed you that there's a calling on your life to preach. And then opportunities have come your way. And if those three things happen, and then you've not disqualified yourself according to biblical principles, then I think that you're at least given the green light to move forward. And we don't call out the called enough. We don't tell young men that this is still what's happening in God's kingdom.
Amen.
He's calling out men. And if you're scared to death, like me, the Lord called me years before I submitted. And I remember I was laying in bed one night and the Lord said, just very clearly, it wasn't audible, it was almost audible. And I remember talking with him, and I asked the question, I said, okay, how am I going to pay for this? No, literally, I was laying in bed and I'm thinking, this is going to cost me money because I'm making X number of dollars. If I go do this, I'm going to be a pastor. I'm not going to make a bunch of money. And the Lord said, and I'm not kidding, said, you are not ready for this. And he turned me off. And I didn't hear from him on that particular subject of calling for another couple of years. And then when he came back and I was broken, having gone to the mission field, I was like, I'm not letting this go now. I can't.
That's so funny you say that.
Why is
So
that?
because you were just saying, I was called. I told you I was affirmed. All the things you just said,
Yeah.
all of that, and I had opportunity to preach. I was preaching at churches and so forth. But I kept doing what I wanted to do for myself and the money I was making, and I never took the step of faith in my younger years.
Right.
And I went through a desert. And I don't tell people, obviously, all the time, but I don't mind talking about it. But I went through a season of life where I idolized things in my life. And my walk with the Lord diminished. And I began to live a life that didn't align with my values, that didn't align with the Word of God. And I had friends and so forth. And so anyway, but yeah, I had the opportunity and I didn't take it. And it wasn't until my father died that I decided that I need to go back and renew that. And that's what Impact Service Group is. And so I have accepted the call. I don't have a church body. I don't have a church building. I have a wonderful church that I go to, and I sit under a wonderful man. And that's Covenant Park Church here in Madison. And Maddie and I go to church together there. And Danny and Pastor Jeff and those guys, man, they're doing an extraordinary job with a small church here, and we had about 1,000 in there, 1,200 a week. It's crazy, but I'm so happy to be there. I don't have a reason to go and start a church. I have one here. It's called Impact Service Group. But anyway, I say all that to say that there is some weight to that, and the challenge that Dr. Steve just said is that if you're feeling like you're called, don't let that pass. Because if I could go back and change it, I would have probably done it at the age of 25 instead of waiting and living for me for 10 years.
And if you're not clear on the call, that's okay. That's where I was.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be to you is to let's maybe get you prepared.
Yeah.
Let's get you in the Word. Let's study the Word. Let's get you ready for whatever the Lord has you. Yeah.
The worst things that's going to happen is you study the Bible more and you grow closer to Jesus.
That would be horrible.
That would just be the worst thing, wouldn't it? I mean, seriously, that's and because Luther Rice is offering both the biblical, like the theology and the ministry degrees, but then also the business degrees, it's not hard to switch up.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where my question is with Luther Rice is like, what is the difference between like doing the business side of things versus doing the
So the
biblical?
ministry one would be very heavily weighted on theology courses, biblical studies, different Bible books of the Bible, church history, and so forth. And the business degree has a core ministry biblical studies section. I think it may be it may be close to 30 hours, I think 18 to 30 hours. And then the rest of it is heavily weighted in business. So it's still a 48, 54 credit hour business degree. It's very rigorous, but then we also have general education, the English, the science, the math you have to take. And then we also have the key ministry degrees or ministry classes or biblical study classes that we think are necessary. I think it's crucial, and that's why we put it in there. Theology. I think it's crucial. I think if you're going to be ministering to people, your theology needs to be sound. So if you're in the marketplace and you got a degree from Luther Rice, but you don't know who God is, well, then we just wasted our time. So let's teach you who God is. Let's give you the ability to study Scripture correctly through biblical interpretation class. Let's have you take an evangelism class. Let's have you take a missions class. You take all those things together on top of your business degree, man, you're set up, I believe, for success.
Yeah, that's what.
Man.
That sounds very similar to what I do at Truett McConnell.
Very cool.
But the main thing, Maddie, as somebody who's in it, I could definitely say it opens the space for like Christian conversation on within the business context. So like I went to the Georgia State campus in Newton County, and for my first 2 years before I felt led to go into ministry. And if you mentioned Jesus in those classes, it didn't go well. It just didn't. And it was very, of course I called it a mission field. I mean, I was out there evangelizing with organizations and stuff. We had Bible study there and everything, but it wasn't like I was not learning how to articulate a gospel-centered life in a business. And I think that's the fundamental difference is it attacks the business from, hey, you're not here for any, you're here for making disciples. There's a purpose that God has placed you in this place for. How do you go about leading people and managing money from a biblical sense and that kind of thing. I think that's the space that we all are offering opens up.
Yes.
Is it would you agree?
I would. Yeah. We want you to be a winsome ambassador for Christ in the marketplace, able to succeed within the business world, but do it as a man or a woman of integrity and for good Christian values, for sure.
Which is huge because, like, when you look at the big universities, it's like when I was in high school thinking about going to college, I was like, yes, I get to go and get a fake ID and go to the bars, and it's really cool to have that option for the kids who, I'd like to think that my kids would be like this, who are wanting something more faith-based, and I don't know.
If the trend,
cool to think.
If the trend keeps going, I think there's a huge opportunity in front of all the Christian universities, and especially Luther Rice.
I think so. I think the Charlie Kirk movement has shown that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and again, as somebody that's in it, like I see it every day. And I mean, even in me, even the past, and I think Parker would agree too, just the past 2 years, even before the Charlie Kirk thing, there was this kind of like stirring of the water. And I think you're seeing some steam bubble up right now.
That's our pastor told us.
I was just about to bring this up. Well, so one of the first services of the year, he went over, he said a percentage of young men, the ages, I'm going to butcher this,
18 to
24. Their church attendance over the last year in 2025 had risen like 40%.
50, I think.
Or something
50%.
like, and that was from, I don't know what data that was from, but it's just crazy to think that there's that huge of a
the trend,
increase.
the data that he had found was trending that young men are running into the church now to investigate what all this stuff is about.
Yeah.
And he specifically was talking about young men. He said the data has in fact just completely flipped. And so there's more people analyzing that data now because it is new. But basically there's now there's hope. But I think I've seen it too. When we have a church we have 400 or 500 in 2 services, and I serve communion there. But as I look in the landscape of the people there's a lot of young men there.
Yeah.
That 18 to 24.
And that's why it's so important that there's a space to provide, because all those guys are going to ministry. We can't have 1 million pastors.
Right.
Like we just can't. That's not how God articulated the kingdom. It's because how are we going to reach, if we just have our holy huddle, we're not going to reach those for Christ. And that's why it's so important to equip them to be able to talk about these things in a business sense. And I think that's why that y'all's move into that is such a, I can't tip my hat enough to that, because it's huge.
I think the opportunity is great. And that's what I asked you about your vision for earlier. I thought, where are you taking this thing? Because the reality is exponential growth is in your future.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm not a prophet by any stretch, but I would dare to say with the leadership abilities that I've seen you talk about today, and I think there's some good stuff in store for Luther Rice.
Thank you.
So you're honored to sit there at the top of the helm of that, and you also have a big responsibility.
Huge.
And so don't let that go unnoticed. You, in my opinion, have the opportunity to make a tremendous impact on the kingdom. Like you said earlier, And, coming here today and jumping on the Impact Show may not just break records for it. Certainly will help. But do more of this.
Thank you.
Because I've learned a lot today. Yeah. And I know that my followers and our Impact team followers, people that are listening to the show, which there's a lot of people that listen to the show now regularly, they may be interested in it too. And so,
especially with it being online.
Yeah.
You don't have to be in, you said Lithonia, right?
No, you can be anywhere. Yeah, we've got people all over the world. Yeah. We had a guy graduate from during the Iraq War. His name was Colonel Sanders. No joke. But no, if anybody is interested, Jake can go to our website, lutherrice.edu. Parker's done a nice job of laying out the degree programs there, the costs. But the most important thing is if you have any questions, just call one of us. Call up to the school, ask for Parker, ask for me, and we'll help you.
Wow, that's very cool for you to make yourself available to the audience here and anybody. But that's good, man. I'm excited for Luther Rice.
I'm excited for you too.
I really am. Yeah. And,
that is great.
Yeah, that is good. So anybody have any closing comments? Concerns?
I do.
Okay.
I asked Dr. Stephen to meet with me with lunch, and he just, without a hesitation, said yes. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I guess it goes back. He knows my dad too. They used to work together at where my dad still is. And without hesitation, he was like, absolutely, you got it. And, we exchanged phone numbers and stuff. So he is also smoking what he's selling. His purpose. I mean, it was really encouraging to me, because again, I don't know everything. I just try to take what I know from other people and apply it to my life and all. So he's not just here promoting something that he's not willing to do himself. So I just wanted to give some flowers to that, because he definitely is not just here on promoting Luther Rice. He does want to have a kingdom impact, because I've seen it firsthand. And it wasn't a business thing; it was a kingdom thing.
I also want to thank Parker for setting this up. He's made this connection.
Round of applause.
Parker and Maddie got like sidebar, and Maddie's all giving me instructions over here. I'm like, well, you got to talk to this guy? Y'all doing writing letters or what? So,
messenger pigeons.
Yeah,
he would be a good next guest right there, or a future guest.
Believe me, I've also put in the submission. I've already put in the word for it.
Yeah, well, now he's experienced it firsthand, so he can come be a part.
Maybe we'll get the sound down and the recording down first time.
Yeah, before we jump off, is there any final words that you want to say?
I think the number one thing that I've learned over my life is just not to take myself too seriously. And I think that really helped when I became a believer, because then, as you spoke about, I realized there was something greater than me, and it helped me identify that what and who that was Jesus Christ. I'm still a sinner. Meaning I have this body of flesh that I'm still dealing with its tendencies from time to time. And, but my recommendation would be to people is just don't take yourself too seriously. Invest in others. Because when you take yourself too seriously, you lose focus of others. But when, like you just said, when you make it about others as best you can, I think people will respond.
If you make everything about everyone else, you will be so much fuller in life.
That's true.
And everything has to be about everybody else. If you ever figure that out and you can put your thumb on it and keep doing that, you will feel God come. You'll see him everywhere, and he reveals himself to you. I believe in obedience and so forth. But yeah, so flesh and spirit, right? The Bible tells us to put on the armor, right? And put on the spirit. You can't take the flesh off. It never tells you to. You can't take it off. So you have to fight it. Life's a fight.
Amen.
So I am so grateful that you came today.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Me too.
Maddie, I loved hearing your voice at the end.
I'm an observer. I like to sit back and learn.
She writes over there. Just
I saw that.
Yeah, if nobody else is learning, Maddie is.
I know.
I love Maddie. She's great.
My the title for this one's going to be "Are you smoking what you're speaking?"
Yeah.
I tell you what, too. I would like to do lunch with you sometime.
Let's
too.
do that. That'd be cool.
Some one-on-one. That I think there's a lot that I could learn from you, and maybe I could share.
Same from you.
So, thank y'all to our fans and followers. The impact that Luther Rice will have in the coming years will be big behind this dude. And so I have faith in that. And anything that we can do to help, let me know.
I appreciate
I'm
that.
excited to watch.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you all.
So cool. All right, we're signing off.
Landed the plane.
Lead well. See y'all.